I wanted an escape, something to clear my head from the relentless grind of city life, the traffic, and the constant digital noise. So I headed out to my grandfather's old property, a place buried deep in the woods, miles away from the nearest town. The house had been shuttered for a decade. Locals always had these vague, unsettling stories about the place, but I just chalked it up to small-town superstition. When I finally pulled into the driveway, the sun was already bleeding out behind the trees. The house stood there like a skeleton, draped in ivy and thick with shadows. I unlocked the front door, and that familiar musty smell of trapped dust and rotting wood hit me instantly. I told myself it was just an old house settling in. For the first 2 nights, it was peaceful, but on the 3rd night, the house stopped feeling like a home.
It was 1:10 a.m. A cold rain had started tapping against the window panes, rhythmically, like fingernails. I was in bed, trying to lose myself in a book, when I heard it. Thump, thump, thump. It wasn't the house settling, it wasn't the wind. It was distinct, heavy, and rhythmic, like someone wearing boots walking slowly across the floorboards downstairs. My heart skipped a beat. I knew I was alone. I hadn't seen another soul for miles. I froze, holding my breath, straining to hear over the sound of the rain. The walking continued, steady and deliberate, moving toward the storage room at the end of the hall. That's when the silence hit, the kind of heavy, pressurized silence that makes your ears ring.
I didn't turn around. I didn't look back. I bolted for the stairs, slammed my bedroom door, and shoved a chair under the handle. I spent the rest of the night sitting in the corner, clutching that flashlight, realizing that whatever was in this house, it wasn't just my imagination. I reached for my flashlight, my hands shaking just enough to make the beam dance against the walls. Every step I took on those old stairs sounded like a gunshot in the dead of night. Each time the wood groaned, the walking below would stop instantly, like it was waiting for me. I reached the storage room, the door slightly ajar. I pushed it open, my pulse hammering in my throat. Nothing. The room was empty. But then I looked down. The dust on the floor was disturbed. Fresh, clear indentations of footprints that didn't lead to anything, but just stopped in the center of the room. A wave of ice washed over me. I felt a sudden, hot breath against the back of my neck.
I didn't sleep. Not for a second. The house had shifted. It wasn't just a building anymore. It was a cage. Every time I'd start to drift off, the house would mock me. A sharp, structural crack from the ceiling, the sound of dry leaves skittering across the floorboards. It was like the house was breathing. By day 3, I was a wreck. I had bags under my eyes that felt like weights, and my hands wouldn't stop shaking. I kept staring at the floor, trying to convince myself that what I'd heard was just the pipes or the settling foundation. But deep down, in that primal part of the brain that keeps you alive, I knew I wasn't alone. The air downstairs had turned stagnant, heavy with the smell of earth and decay. I spent the entire day barricaded in my room, listening to the silence. And God, the silence was the worst part. It wasn't empty, it was pressurized, like the moment before a lightning strike. It was waiting for me.
By the fourth night, I decided to stop being the victim. I was going to get proof. I set up my phone on a tripod in the hallway, aimed directly at that storage room door. I told myself I was a man of logic. Science would explain this. I locked my bedroom door, pushed the heavy dresser against it, and watched the live feed on my laptop. It was 2 a.m. The house began to groan, not the normal settling of wood, but something deeper. It felt like the house was vibrating. Then it started. Scritch, scritch, scritch. It wasn't footsteps. It was something wet, something clawing at the wood from the inside of the wall. My skin turned to ice. I leaned into the microphone, straining to hear, and that's when I heard it. A voice. It was raspy, like dry leaves rubbing together, muttering in a language that felt ancient, hateful. It wasn't human. I watched the screen, my heart hammering against my ribs, and then the impossible happened. The brass knob of the storage room door began to turn, slowly, deliberately, as if something on the other side was testing the lock. I snapped. I didn't care about the history, the property, or the logic anymore. I just needed to survive. I started throwing clothes into a duffel bag, my movements jagged and panicked. I shoved the dresser away from the door, and that's when the house went quiet. That dead, absolute silence. Then, boom, something slammed into the bedroom door from the hallway. It sounded like a sledgehammer hitting the wood. The door splintered, shards of timber flying across the room. I didn't scream. I couldn't. I vaulted out of the bedroom window, landing hard on the porch roof, my skin tearing on the shingles. I didn't stop to look back. I sprinted toward the car, the gravel digging into my feet. As I peeled out of the driveway, I glanced up at the bedroom window one last time. There, standing behind the curtain, was a silhouette, tall, hunched, and inhumanly thin. It was watching me leave. I drove until the gaslight came on, until the sun broke the horizon, but I never went back. But even now, in my own apartment, thousands of miles away, I wake up in the dead of night to the sound of something scratching right behind my headboard. Months have passed since I fled that house. I moved to the city, buried myself in work, and tried to act like a normal person. Everyone said I was healing, but they didn't know the truth. The house didn't just haunt that property, it haunted me. Sometimes in the middle of the night, I wake up to the feeling of someone standing over my bed. I catch glimpses of things in the mirror, shadows that don't belong to me. My friends say I mutter in my sleep, speaking in a tongue that sounds like dry, brittle leaves rubbing together. Last night, I hit my breaking point. My Bluetooth speaker connected on its own. No music, just that wet, rhythmic scritch-scratch of claws against wood. I threw the speaker against the wall, but it didn't stop. The whispers started again, coming from the corners of my bedroom, calling my name. I flipped on all the lights in the apartment, but the room stayed cold. Then I saw it. The paint on my bedroom wall was turning black, peeling away to reveal rotting, damp wood underneath. It was happening again. I finally understand. I never left that house. It followed me. It's in my car, my office, my bedroom. Tonight, I won't be sleeping. I can hear the floorboards in the hallway creaking. I can hear the heavy, raspy breathing just outside my bedroom door. It's not knocking anymore. It's just waiting. If you ever find yourself in an old, quiet house, remember, not every silence is peaceful. Some silences are just holding their breath, waiting for you to look away. And now, the handle is starting to turn. It's finally time to go back.